Hi, I'm Alison Dimond. I'm with the Propane Education and Research Council, and it's an honor to be here today to talk to you a little bit about how propane might work in the aviation industry. This presentation does have an audience participation element because for some reason there are gremlins in these slides and they like to change even though there's no animation, or I've tried to remove all the animation. So if you suddenly feel that I'm not talking about what is on the slide, just give me and I'll be sure to go back. So a little bit about kind of where we're going to go, what I'm going to talk about today. First, I'm going to talk very briefly about the propane industry, what industry groups are available to help you if you're interested in learning more about propane. I'm going to talk about the production and supply of propane. Then for the bulk of my presentation, I'm going to talk about why you might even want to consider using propane, and then what propane products are available that are relevant to the aviation industry and how to handle refueling. So there are two primary industry groups associated with propane: the Propane Education and Research Council, or PERC, which is who I work for. And we were founded in 1998 by an act of Congress, basically to advance the use of propane. So we primarily focus on investing in technology, commercialization of technologies, safety, and consumer initiatives. We are funded by a very small percentage of every gallon of propane sold, about ½ penny per gallon. Our sister organization is the National Propane Gas Association. They are a member organization, so they're funded by membership dues, and they are the lobbying organization for propane. So that's one of the big differences between the two of us. But both of us are available if you have any further questions or want more information. So in terms of the production and supply of propane, about 55% of propane comes from the refining of natural gas. About 45% comes from the refining of petroleum. So what that adds up to is about 90% of the supply is domestically produced, and there's a very large supply of propane in the form of natural gas that is domestic. So in terms of propane as an alternative engine fuel, most people think of propane in terms of their barbecue grill. But what I'm going to talk about is how to use it as an engine fuel. It is recognized by the EPA as a clean alternative fuel. So if you're under any alternative fuel mandates or you're trying to get incentives associated with alternative fuels, propane does count in most cases. As of 2009, there were about 270,000 propane vehicles in the US. There are about 13 million propane vehicles worldwide. So the rest of the world is a lot more advanced than we are in terms of using propane as an engine fuel. But that having been said, propane in the US is actually the third most common fuel used behind gas and diesel. So it is widely available, and it is being used successfully as an engine fuel. So why even consider propane? This is where I think the gremlins are going to start, so be prepared. So I'm going to talk about each of these in a little more detail, but it's economical, it's easy to use, it's widely available, it's safe, it has some very good environmental and energy security benefits. And if you're using diesel now and you're starting to have to meet the more stringent diesel emission requirements, one of the ways people are doing that is with urea. And the implementation process of propane is about the same level of investment as using this urea system. So if you're already trying to deal with those more stringent diesel emissions, it might be a good time to think about propane. So in terms of economics, propane costs about 50% less than gas and 30% less than diesel. So you're going to start seeing cost savings as soon as you are see, there we go. As soon as you start using propane. It also improves the engine life and reduces maintenance. So folks who are using propane tell us that they have to do oil changes about half as often as in their gas and diesel products, and that the engines last about twice as long. So that's another considerable cost saving. There are also tax credits and incentives associated with propane. For example, there's a 50-cent per gallon tax credit for propane that was just reinstated by Congress last week. So that brings the cost down even further. Propane is easy to use. The refueling is easy to install, and it's easy to use. It basically works just like a gas pump. The fuel is easier to track than, in many cases, than gas. Oh, thank you. See, I needed my audience. Is easier to track in many cases than gas or diesel. There's no spillage or theft. It's in canisters. So I know people who work in the lawn industry tell us that even when it's raining, all of their gas cans come back empty, even though no mowing happened. With propane, you don't have to worry about that. People can't just take it and use it in their vehicles. There's also less spillage, which is a considerable environmental issue. The performance is similar in terms of power and fuel economy to gas and diesel, so you don't lose power, you don't lose torque, that kind of thing. And the products are warrantied. So all of the products I'm going to talk about today are warrantied. These aren't sort of some kind of shady aftermarket conversion that will void your warranty. Propane is a very safe fuel. It's a low-pressure fuel. It's stored at about 100 to 300 psi compared to natural gas, which is at about 5,000 psi. So that makes it a lot easier to use and makes it very safe. Propane also dramatically reduces emissions that are harmful to human health, things like carbon monoxide, particulate matter, that kind of thing. So it's safer for the people working at your airports and for the people who live nearby. And also there's reduced spillage, as I mentioned, so any environmental concerns from spilled fuel you don't have with propane. Propane is also widely available. There's a very strong distribution network across the United States. It's available in all 50 states already. There's a large domestic supply, as I said, in the form of natural gas. The refueling is easy to install. The storage is easy to install. They can be either above ground or below ground. It costs about the same as gas or diesel to install, so it's pretty simple to do. And we are working to increase the availability of public refueling, which may be less relevant to airport equipment, but for pieces of equipment that go on and off the airport, like a shuttle bus, for example, we are working to increase public refueling options. That's one of our PERC's missions for the next year or so. And there are also a wide range of propane products, which I'm going to talk about in a little more detail. And what's important about that is it basically means that there will be a critical mass of products available to you to make it make sense to install the refueling infrastructure. You'll have enough different products available to you that it'll make sense to make that commitment. And that's really how you get the best fuel costs, is by having your own refueling. Propane also has some very good environmental benefits and improves energy security and energy independence. There's obviously a lot of talk now about climate change and the possibility of greenhouse gas regulations, and propane can help with that. It is a low-carbon fuel by nature. It has fewer carbon molecules than gas or diesel. I am not a scientist, as Bob is, so I'm not going to try and embarrass myself by getting into the details, but it is a low-carbon fuel. It has lower CO2 emissions than gas, diesel, and electricity, depending on the application. It can reduce CO2 emissions by 10 to 48%, depending on what product you're using it in. It also improves air quality. It significantly reduces particulate matter and carbon monoxide, unburned hydrocarbons, NOx. So those are significant environmental benefits. And then, as I mentioned, about 90% of the supply is domestically produced. So it has some pretty important benefits in terms of energy security and energy independence. So to talk about products, I'm going to focus on products that are available that are relevant to the aviation industry. There is ground service equipment, but there are also a wide range of other products that may be used on an airport. And so it's interesting to know what that range of products is so that you can kind of get to this critical mass of products that will make it make sense for you to install your own refueling and really get the full cost benefits of using propane. So first of all, there are propane-powered ground service equipment products. Both Tug and Eagle provide original equipment manufacturer propane products. What I mean by that is it comes from the manufacturer as a propane product. It's not an aftermarket conversion. There are propane forklifts. This is probably in fact, is definitely the largest engine fuel market for propane. The benefits of propane in the forklift are that they give you much greater power than electricity and much fewer emissions than diesel. So it kind of hits that sweet spot of power and low emissions. There are also propane sweet strippers, which may be relevant for keeping airports clean. And then in terms of vehicles, there's a wide range of vehicles that run on propane. We work with Clean Fuels USA in the conversion of GM-based products. So they convert GM 6.0 liter products. And those can be trucks, but they can also be vans that have shuttle applications, which may be most relevant to airports. And perhaps the most important thing about these newer vehicles that are available in propane is their liquid propane injection, which means they basically work like a regular gas engine. All we do is change the tank, change the fuel rails, change the injectors, change the engine, or recalibrate the engine control module a little bit. But otherwise, it works just the same as gas. It's not like old vapor systems, which used to be used for propane vehicles that had cold start and freeze-up issues. These are a significant leap in technology. Our partner on the Ford side is Roush, like Roush Racing, like Jack Roush. They've made a real strong commitment to propane, and they are converting Ford F-Series and E-Series products. They've got the 150, 250, and 350 on both the F-Series and the E-Series vans. And these come straight from the manufacturer, go to Roush, and then straight to you. It's a ship-through process. They work with Ford on the conversion. So, and the products are warranted, both with these Ford products and with the GM products. You get the OEM warranty, and then you also get the converter's warranty on top of that. And so again, some of these vans may be relevant for shuttles, and these are also the liquid propane injection system. I also added in lawn equipment because I suspect that that's relevant for some airports that have grounds that they maintain. So there's a wide range of propane mowers available. Most of the big names in commercial mowing have propane mowers available, including the zero-turn radius mowers, which are kind of the latest and greatest thing in terms of lawn maintenance. There are also propane trimmers and blowers for smaller applications. These are also quieter. I don't know if you are familiar with leaf blowers and weed whackers, but they're pretty loud. And these are also the propane versions are a lot quieter. So there are a wide range of products available. There's a good supply, there's a large supply, and it's a domestic supply. So the last piece of the puzzle is, how do you refuel these things? And refueling is pretty easy. Like I said, the costs are comparable to putting in a gas or diesel facility. There are skid systems available, which basically come in on a skid and can stay above ground. They're very compact. They basically take up about the size of a parking space, and you can move them as your fleet needs change. There are also obviously non-transportable and larger refueling systems, if that makes sense for your fleet. As I mentioned, it's a low-pressure system, so it's very safe to use and safe to have on site. In terms of the actual refueling equipment, the fuel pump, we work with Clean Fuels USA, has developed a refueling system that basically is exactly like a gas pump. It's very simple to use, no real special training required or anything like that. You're not filling up special canisters. It just works like a regular gas pump. And it also integrates with fuel management systems. If you use anything like Fuel Master or any of those systems to track your fuel, these pumps can interface with those systems. And these are also portable if you need to move them around as your fleet needs change. As I mentioned, one of PERC's missions for the next couple of years is increasing publicly available propane. So you drive into your gas station, there will also be propane available. And that, again, may be most relevant for equipment that goes on and off the airport, like a shuttle. But that's something we're working to increase. It is already available in all 50 states, but it's something we're trying to improve on. So with that, I'm going to close. I just want to kind of give a couple of brief closing points. I think a lot of people tend to think of alternative fuels in general, and including propane, as something that you would do for the environmental benefits. And that's certainly true. It has much lower carbon footprint and much lower smog-forming emissions than traditional gas or diesel. But it also makes a lot of economic sense. The fuel costs a lot less. There are a wide range of products available and a strong supply. So I think it also makes a lot of economic sense and is something worth considering, both for sort of the green factor, but also your bottom line. So I know we're going to hold questions to the end, but I really appreciate your attention and time this morning, and I'll look forward to questions when we're done. Thanks.